Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
100% her fault. I'm not perfect. Hold my hands up, definitely not perfect. It's just a bit chaotic, a bit crazy, too much going on, arguing over dumb stuff. Yeah, nah, man, too much. I needed a bit more smoothness.
So at what point did you realise you had to end that relationship?
Just when like family would get involved, police was getting involved, police having to then come and help out, having to take people away or something to separate them, which is a bit mad anyway. If you've got family arguments, just deal with it, innit?
What advice would you give to others that are in a relationship similar to the one you was in?
Run. No, I'm joking. Go with your heart, innit? If you're saying check out, then I guess check out, but try as much as you can until I guess you can't take it, innit? Because that's when it gets a little bit long and crazy.
What is your name and where are you from?
My name's Dario. I'm from West London.
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
I'm gonna say it's mine. I'm gonna take the blame and say it's mine. She said like I didn't have enough money, so it was either do what she wants or be me, so I had to be me. But at the same time, I'm happy because I learned from it and it made me a better person. So shout out my ex, but middle finger to my ex at the same time. I wouldn't say the relationship was sweet, but it wasn't all the way bad. It just made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. Everyone grows at their own pace, innit? So I believe she wanted me to grow faster than I could at the time, innit? But at the same time, no one breaks up for no one for no reason. I guess there's something I could do better, and now I feel like I'm working on it. So a blessing in disguise.
What would you say is the biggest thing you learned throughout that whole experience?
Put yourself first. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else, innit? So as long as you got yourself, you'll find someone for you.
Have you ever been in love?
It was kind of like a tragedy, a little bit, very messy. He was kind of a piece of shit, basically. It didn't start off like that, but, cheating, lying, all the things.
How did that relationship end?
I was laying in bed with him one morning, and I woke up. My phone was, blown up, and this girl had gotten my number. She was like, "How long have you been fucking my man?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I've been dating him for 8 years." And they have been dating for 8 months.
How long has passed?
I have not spoken to him, zero contact, nothing, in 2 years.
How do you feel?
Better than ever. Should have done that years ago.
And looking back, what did it for you?
So before with cheating and stuff, it was physical, he would just bone some girl, but the whole 8-month affair thing, him having an emotional connection with someone was so gross to me, and it was so messy with the girl. She was really in love with him.
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
It was a mix of both, actually. A bit of me, a bit of him, but at the end it was more his fault, to the point where he just stopped caring and doing things for me. He did everything for himself and just wasn't thinking about the two people in the relationship that was needed.
That was his side. What was yours?
I should have communicated more about how I was feeling. So my communication issues and his lack of effort, I feel like at the end of the day, both went hand in hand.
What would you say is the biggest thing you learned looking back on all of that then?
Communication, for sure. That's the biggest one. Communicating how you feel all the time to one another. And the second one is, always making sure that you're putting in effort with the other person, making sure that they're getting what they need as well as you getting what you need as well.
What advice would you give to others that are going through a breakup right now or they're in a similar relationship to yourself?
Make sure you don't end on bad terms. Talk it through. Make sure you're at an even state. You've talked it all through,
What is your name and where are you from?
I'm Abby and I'm from Australia.
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
100% my fault. It was the first time I dated someone after I called off my wedding, and I was just really excited to just date casually, and I just really fell for him. So for months I was like, "I don't want to date you, you're not my boyfriend." And I was pretty not nice to him, and then I was like, "Okay, we can date." And I was just really in love with him, but I really didn't want to be in love. So I was really lashing out and acting like a little kid, and I would cheat on him all the time and tell him, and then he would stay with me, and then I lost respect for him, and I was just a mess. He was really nice to me all the time, even when I was horrible. I think I had a ton of anger and resentment towards men, and I really was funneling it at him. because I hadn't like dealt with it with like myself.
How does that make you feel?
It's like one of my only regrets in life was how I treated him. Yeah, it makes me like really sad because he was like a really good guy.
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
Well, partly their fault because they cheated, but our relationship was very like, not just all him, it was me a little bit as well. Well, like I allowed it to happen because it happened more than once. So I should have just said it with more chest in the beginning, like what my boundaries were, like all of that, but I didn't because I was too afraid to lose him.
How did you sort of get through that and move forward?
Like, it was hard, but it was like a good learning lesson, I guess, for myself. Obviously, I had my little cry for like an hour, whatever, a day, but I kind of just thought like it's one boy. Like, there's so many boys out there, and if they made that choice already, then obviously they weren't worth your time.
What words of advice would you give to people watching that are finding themselves in a similar situation?
If he wanted to, he would. Like, if he actually cared, he would show he cared. Like, I was always overthinking, like, oh, why is he not doing this? Why is he not doing that? But if he wanted to, he would.
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
I'm actually going through a breakup right now. I wouldn't say it's anyone's fault. I was the one to kind of end it, but I think it was for the best to give us both some space to find out who we are as, you know, adults. We were long distance and also in an open relationship, and I still felt a bit overwhelmed. You know, you want to be everything for another person, and, you know, the minute you feel like you're not that, it's hard to stay in a relationship. I didn't have enough love in me for myself, so I wasn't able to be giving that to them either. I'm really just kind of focusing on my own, you know, mental health and recovery and progression. So, I mean, I'm excited to find myself and find more love for myself, and who knows what that might bring. It's important to be alone and to find who you are as an individual, not with another person, you know?
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
Look, not gonna lie, it was my fault. Like, I made a couple bad decisions and it led to the breakup, but yeah, it's all part of life, and I learned from that and take it to my next relationship if I'm ever going to get into one. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
So can I ask, what were those mess ups?
Being unfaithful in that. In a way, you feel bad, but yeah, you can't have too many regrets. You got to move on. You can't keep living in the past.
What would you say then is the biggest thing you learned through that experience then?
Just treat others how you want to be treated, I guess. And if you're not committed to it, like, cut it off early instead of dragging it on.
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
The truth is just politics to do with parents and where I'm from, where someone else is from, to put it that way. You know, things like face tattoos, blah, 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 that I have, but I got nothing but love to the girl and peace and love to her. And I believe she got the same thing towards man, innit?
So what was it like to go through something like that, man?
The easiest way that I can tell you, love is an amazing thing. I go through it. You know, it's like Damon Marley said, better to love and lose than to have never loved at all. That would be something that I would say, and heartbreak is a serious thing that could cut you off, my bro. But the cut off of that, you can use that fuel to channel it to improve yourself, or you could just be like, let it get to you and break you, and that, which I don't advise that. You just overcome that and see it as God's plan, and then if you're not meant to be together again, then you're meant to be together again, or whatever it is. But just work on yourself and keep moving forward.
Is there anything you regret about your last heartbreak?
I'm not a very open person. Sometimes that can really inhibit relationships, but then he cheated on me with my best friend, so yeah, so I guess I didn't really need to be that vulnerable with him. I didn't have like any proof. I just had this feeling, and then he broke up with me out of nowhere, and then I found out a few weeks later that they were like hanging out, and like they would see me, like that I see my location, that I wasn't going to like our friends' parties, so he would take her instead, have sleepovers together, all of that. I think that it was like a really difficult thing to overcome. After those sort of situations, it's really hard to trust people. I think it's really important to just not close yourself off. Like, you have to remember, like, it's not everyone, and like everyone makes mistakes. Like, nobody is perfect. Just kind of like sit with yourself and know that these feelings aren't permanent, and know that eventually like things will be okay. It's just really important to like move on and not let something that's in the past continue with you to today.
Your last breakup, was it your fault or theirs?
We were dating for 2 years, and then they broke up with me like out of the blue for no reason. Don't know why he wanted to break up with me. He just did. He came over and was just basically like, I need space, like I'm like going through stuff. And then the next day he was like, oh no, like I don't have anything going on, I just have lost feelings. And then the other day he was like, oh, I don't know, I need to focus on my career. Like, it was just like heaps of random excuses. I'm still kind of like, oh, did something happen? 2 weeks later he came back and was like, I want you back, I miss you, I don't know why I did that, I want to marry you, I still love you. Trust your intuition. Sometimes you have a gut feeling and you know, like I feel like that's one thing I always looked past. It's like, trust your gut, focus on yourself. I would say that's really important. Sometimes things just aren't meant to be, and I'm better off without him.